Hello everyone, welcome to LegacyIAS Academy. In this video, we will see the issue of farm investment and the doubling the farmer's income. In today's Hindu newspaper, that is 9th February, today's Hindu newspaper, there is a detailed article on the farmer's subsidies, farmer's investment and also how to double the farmer's income and what are the issues with Indian agriculture. So in this, watch the complete video in order to get the complete analysis of the particular article. What is the context? Let's see the context. The first one is budget expenditure on agriculture was increased by 4.4% in the year 2022 and 23. Okay, the recent budget which was submitted on Feb 1st. In this budget, the investment for agriculture was increased by 4.4%, and this is a huge amount when you calculate the 4.4% for the total budget outlay, that is 39.5 lakh crores. Getting it? Okay. Next one, Food and Agriculture Organization said that between 2001 to 2019, India was among the top 10 countries which spent more on agriculture. Okay, this is the data that is given in today's Hindu newspaper. Agricultural Orientation Index is a new term, AOI, that has been mentioned. On this context, I want you to know in detail about Agricultural Orientation Index. What is this index? This index is the ratio of government expenditure on agriculture divided by agricultural contribution to the country's GDP. Okay, this is called Agricultural Orientation Index. In your prelims examination, you can expect a question like Agricultural Orientation Index is the ratio of, and you will be given 4 options: option A, option B, option C and option D. In one of these 4 options, you will have the correct answer. That is, it is the ratio of government expenditure on education divided by the contribution of agriculture to India's GDP. Okay, in this context, I want you to comment in the comment box, what is the contribution of India's agriculture to GDP? What is the contribution of agriculture to India's GDP? Comment in the comment box. In the same video, we will see if your answer is correct or not. Okay, these are the 3 different data that we have in the newspaper, and in this context, let's see what is the importance of agriculture to India. Why do we speak about agriculture and why is it so vital for Indian economy and also society? You all know that around 50%, that is 48% of India's population is dependent on agriculture and also allied activities. But the agriculture contributes only 17.5% to GDP. When you talk about the different sectors of economy, you have agriculture, you have manufacturing and also services. When you compare these 3 sectors and their contribution to India's GDP, you have services greater than manufacturing, greater than agriculture. Agriculture is something that is contributing very, very less, even though it employs around 50% of India's population, and this is the biggest problem that we have. Second one, agricultural sector contribution has decreased from more than 50% of the GDP in 1950s to 17% in 2015 and 16. If such kind of the data is already there, this is how you would represent it when you write it in the examination. Instead of writing it in words, you can have 50% in 1950s to around 17% in 2015-16. This kind of charts or graphs will add a great value to your answer. Please make sure anywhere, if possible, these kind of maps or the charts should be made beforehand, and it has to be practiced so that you can use very less time in drawing this in the diagram and value add your answer. Next one, farmers are said to be the largest group of entrepreneurs in India. Okay, farmers are said to be the largest group of entrepreneurs because of the number of population, number of people dependent on agriculture. In India, agriculture becomes very vital. In case of this, what are the major issues? We have seen here few of the major issues that are faced by Indian agriculture today. First one, yield in the different countries. As we all know, around 50% of the India's population is dependent on agriculture, but the yield is very less. Look at here, paddy, it is the least. Here it is lesser than the China. You have other cereals apart from paddy, the yield is very less. In the blue, in the pulses, the yield is the least. In this chart, you will be able to appreciate how the yield is very less in India when compared to other countries. This is one of the biggest problem that we have. Second one is the agricultural growth rate. See, when you come to the growth rate, it should always be upwards and it should be linear. But look at the agricultural growth rate from 1951 to 52, we have a 10-year gap. Agricultural growth rate is volatile. Some years agriculture has shown a positive growth. The succeeding year it has shown the negative growth. It is at extremes. We do not have a linearly increasing agricultural output growth. This is the second biggest problem with respect to agriculture. Next one is the agricultural production. One thing that you need to focus more here is the domination of rice. This is the rice. Indian agriculture is said to be cereal dependent or cereal oriented because Indian agriculture is being dominated by two cereals, that is wheat and rice. These are the two cereals that are being dominated. That is the reason why we have a greater demand towards crop diversification and crop rotation, so that it will be economically productive and also ecologically very helpful for the farmers. This is the third agricultural problem that we are seeing. And the next one is seed replacement ratio. How much of the sowing seed is certified and is verified for its quality? Okay, seed replacement ratio in India is somewhere around 25%. This has to be around 50% in the next 5 to 10 years in order to achieve the agricultural yield. See, one of the reasons for lower agricultural yield is also because farmers do not use the high yield variety seeds and certified seeds. They use the farm seeds which are of lower yield. The next one is sub-infiltration of land. These are the very key terms. Okay, seed replacement ratio, sub-infiltration of land. If you write the same keywords in your answer, you will be able to get very good marks. Sub-infiltration of land is that fragmentation of land. You all know that 85% of the agricultural land in India is less than 2 hectares. Because of which the intensive commercial farming, we can also call it as intensive commercial farming, is not possible, and also mechanized farming is not possible in India because we do not have large lands, unlike USA, China or Canada and also Mexico. All these countries have very large lands, but in case of India, we have the problem of sub-infiltration of land along with disguised unemployment. These are the very key terms: disguised unemployment. Okay, and the next one is the overexploitation of resources. For example, groundwater and the urea or the chemical fertilizer. We have the problem of overexploitation of the resources which hinders sustainable development goals. The last one is of marketing. Recently, the farm bills that were passed by the government were taken back because of the protests, and these 3 farm bills were expected to reorient the agricultural marketing and ensure contract farming. As of now, we do not have any legal basis for contract farming. That is the reason why the marketing is done only through APMCs, and various issues that are involved in the APMCs hinder the agricultural marketing and also farmers' income. Let's see the investment part. India spends almost 7.3% of its total expenditure on agriculture. And this is very less when compared to low income countries. India is classified under middle income country, but it lags behind the agricultural expenditure of most of the low income countries. For example, Malawi, which is an African country, spends almost 18% of its expenditure on agriculture. Mali, which spends 12.4%. Bhutan, which spends around 12%. If you are not able to remember Malawi and Mali, I would recommend you to remember India's contribution and also Bhutan's expenditure, so that you will be able to write this and support the argument that India's investment in agriculture is not optimum. And the next one we have already discussed, agricultural orientation index. India stands at 38th position when it comes to agricultural orientation index. Okay, agricultural orientation index was formed as a part of goal 2 of sustainable development goals, that is eliminating hunger. Eliminating hunger is the second goal of sustainable development index, and as a part of eliminating hunger we have agricultural orientation index, in which India is ranked very low. This is an important data I would recommend you to remember. And the next one is the producer support estimate that is released by OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. OECD producer support estimate is said to be in negative from past 2 decades. What do you mean by producer support estimate? Producer support estimate is an index which tells you the aggregate transfers to farmers. For example, this will include MSP. It will also include DBT. We have a scheme called PM Kisan. Under this scheme, 6,000 rupees is given to farmers in 3 installments, and this particular scheme comes under producer support estimate. What do you mean by negative producer support estimate? Is the transfers to farmers in the last 2 decades have not been equal to their expenditure. In order to put this in business terms, Indian farmers are facing losses from past 2 decades. Okay. Now let's see how is investment and subsidy. What is investment and what is subsidy? Investment is spending which creates infrastructure or ripple effect. For example, construction of a road is an example of investment. At the same time, subsidies are classified into 2 types. One is direct farm subsidy and the other one is indirect farm subsidy. Direct farm subsidy, you can have the example of PM Kisan, where through DBT directly 6,000 rupees is transferred to the bank accounts. This is an example of direct farm subsidy. Indirect farm subsidy, as an example for the indirect farm subsidy, we have fertilizer subsidies, especially urea. The subsidy is given in the form of reduced market price. Directly, amount is not given to the farmers. It is given in the form of reduction in market price. This is the data related to indirect and direct farm subsidies. One thing that you need to note here in this context is investment that is particularly capital investment is always better than subsidies. Okay, this is something that you need to know, because subsidies will not create ripple effect in terms of economic value, whereas investments are long term and it builds capacity and also creates ripple effects. Now let's see, we have discussed the issues. Now we will see what are the solutions. What should be done in order to reorient India's farming sector so that the doubling the farmers' income, the mission of doubling the farmers' income by 2022 would become a reality. First thing is, we have already discussed, we need to have capital investment, which is also called as capital expenditure. This has to be increased. Recently in the budget 2022 and 23, it was said that India's capital expenditure is somewhere around 6.3 lakh crores. Out of 39.5 lakh crores, India is spending around 6.3 lakh crores on capital investment. This has to increase. Minimum it should reach 40 to 50% of the budgetary expenditure. Only then we can expect the sectors like agriculture, infrastructure and also transport getting their due importance. Next one, we need to have more focus towards urban and rural infrastructure. Urban infrastructure in terms of roads, bridges, rural infrastructure when it comes to agriculture and allied services. We need to have more urban and rural infrastructure related to agriculture. Next thing that is of utmost importance is providing credit facility. We know that when it comes to the credit facilities, we have two kinds. One is institutional and the other one is non-institutional. Under institutional we have banks, and non-institutional we have normal individual loans that are borrowed with collateral with zamindars or also the heads in the particular village. So the contribution of this non-institutional credit is higher in India when it compares to institutional credit because of the lack of financial inclusion and also penetration of banks in rural areas. We have non-institutional creditors that are dominating the agricultural sector. This has to reverse. We need to have more institutional creditors so that the credit facility is properly available to farmers. Next thing is marketing. APMC has monopoly in agricultural marketing. This has to be abolished and we need to focus more on contract farming so that the entire agricultural sector gets reoriented and we can achieve the mission of doubling the farmer's income by 2022. As usual, we will see a question at the end. The question is like, in spite of having the largest share of population dependent on agriculture, Indian agriculture is suffering. This is the part 1 of the question. Part 2 goes, analyze the issues related to investment and subsidies to achieve the target of doubling the farmer's income by 2022. As I always tell you, first divide the question into two parts. The first part, in spite of having the largest share of India's population, that is around 50% of India's population, Indian agriculture is suffering. Why is it suffering? Substantiate with data. Subinfeudation of land, over-exploitation of resources, and also agricultural marketing. We have discussed why Indian agriculture is suffering. Analyze the issues related to investment and subsidies. Bring out the contrast between investment and subsidies. Give data from budget in order to support your argument that investment and subsidies both are important, but it is the capital expenditure that is utmost importance when it comes to agricultural sector. This is how you conclude your answer, and you always try supporting your opinion with a fact so that your answers look beautiful and you will be awarded maximum marks. By this we will end the video. Thanks a lot. Subscribe more for such enriching content. Have a nice day.